Hello, Justice Warriors. What's going on? How are you tonight? It is about 4 o'clock on Wednesday. I think it's the 22nd of January. Hold on, let me get my glasses cleaned up. Shall I let the puppy dog in? Come on, puppy dog. Come on, Coco. All right, you stay over here, sweet pea. Okay, I don't want to be getting squished by you or you getting squished by me. All right, we got Coco in the house. She's doing great. Yes, she is doing great. She's midstream through her cancer treatment. It's amazing. I feel very fortunate that she's all right, that she's doing well, that she's able to get the treatment and to tolerate it. So let me see if this is going to administer sound very well. Check, check. Can you hear me? Let's see what do I want to do? I want to knock everything over. It is so nuts. Like, you guys that don't do content creating might be like, why is she always fiddling with her stuff? It is so crazy, you guys. Having a set, I'm very, very grateful to have a set. Don't get me wrong. It is just really funky. And yeah, I mean, I guess unless you have a staff and you're, just focused on your content, your staff is focused on your lighting and your camera angle and all that good stuff. Anyway, I'm just me here, and I wanted to come on live, even though I don't have a lot of time, and I'm sort of prepared, the way I always am. I have my notes. A lot of times I take my time setting up so that I can kind of get into the zone, but I don't got time for that tonight. I had to just come on right away if I was going to be able to come on at all. And then I'm going to reach for the thumb. Please hit that like button if you don't mind. I'm going to ask you to check and see that you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, and if you're not, consider just hitting that button. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like it. You guys, I've had a huge breakthrough in my personal psyche just today. I'm not kidding. That's what I came on to tell you about. Turn on your notification bell to ring if you like to be notified. I don't want to drag out the issue. I want to just tell you what's going on. Billy, darling. Hello, my dear. Can you hear me okay? I was just going to spill my guts out, and you're the perfect person to do that with. If you don't mind, how are you today? So before you answer, I'll just go ahead and keep talking, because I'm going to have to wrap up at like 10 minutes of 5, no later, I think, unless I get a text saying that I don't have to, and then we can just go on and on and on. So fingers crossed. But I'll probably have to wrap it up in just about just slightly over half an hour. Audio is good. I'm good. How are you doing, lovely? So I am doing really well. I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. The whole freaking reason I do true crime is to work on my own freaking issues, simultaneous with being distracted from all my problems, right? It's like a free vacation. Just get lost in this world of true crime and focus on these psychos over here and over there. I mean, I'm being facetious. I do like to focus on the true crime cases because, in a sense, it's like a vacation from my own problems. Simultaneously, it allows me to learn things about my problems from a different perspective that I never thought of before. So, Billy, darling, have you heard me talking about that freaking HBO miniseries called Sharp Objects? I've been talking about it a lot the last few weeks. Have you seen it? Have you heard of it? Anybody who hasn't seen Sharp Objects, if you like true crime, even though it's not based on a true story, it has the theme of a lot of truth weaved in such a clever artistic way. Oh my God. Yes, I have seen it. Love Amy Adams. She's freaking brilliant. I could just cry. So I saw it a few, like 4 weeks ago. It was over Christmas break. Me and my oldest daughter watched it together, sitting on the edge of the sofa, and we just couldn't wait to get through each episode, but we had to like wait for each other. So it took us a few days. You know, we couldn't just power through them because we both had other obligations. And then once that was all over with, I had to watch it again, you know, because of that surprise ending. And the way this series is, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, and tell me how long ago you saw it, Billy Darling. So I only saw it the first time a month ago. I'd never even heard of it. I think we just kind of stumbled upon it on the Roku. It was one of those like Easter eggs that you trip over, right? And then I just rewatched it. I wasn't sure that I wanted to invest all that time because it's about 6 hours plus, because it's 8 50-minute series, 8 50-minute shows. And as soon as I started watching it the second time, which was just a few days ago, I powered through the whole 8 episodes. As soon as I started, I knew that I'd made the right decision. It was such a wise investment of my time. When it first came out, I watched it like 3 times. Oh, good for you. I know I could see you totally watching it again, even though I literally just finished it. Hey, Sherry, how are you? And Sherry, we're talking about that Sharp Objects. Have you seen it? I know you've heard me talking about it recently. So I just wrapped up watching the entire series for the second time today. And I shared with my people here in chat the first time, and I'm kind of in a hurry today, Sherry. So I apologize for that. I have to kind of jump over stuff, but I want to ask you how you are and if you're doing well today. I have to wrap up no later than 10 minutes to 5, the cutoff. So around a quarter till I should start. And there's so much I want to talk about, but I'm just going to have to come back on maybe live later today or tonight or tomorrow. So the breakthrough that I had when I saw it the first time and shared with my viewers part of what was very riveting to me, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it or you haven't looked it up online, it's about Munchausen's Van Proxy. So I think I was maybe on the 3rd episode when I took a wild guess that that's what it was going to be about. A wild, educated guess. But man, the story has so many twists and turns. It's unfreaking real. So yes, it's about Munchausen's Van Proxy. And I did say in my content to my viewers here that in a sense my own father had Munchausen's Van Proxy, and I would imagine that both of you have heard my story about the attempt that my biological father made on mine and my sister's lives in Arizona in the parking lot of a McDonald's via carbon monoxide poisoning. So poisoning is typically how Munchausen's people do their thing. It's, I think, almost always poisoning. I could like look up the definition, but I'm pretty sure it's almost always poisoning, if not always. And his poison was a poisonous gas. So the breakthrough that I had today, I'd always wondered why he bought us dinner at McDonald's. But we went into the restaurant, we used the facilities, we bought our Big Macs and fries and Cokes, and we took them out to the car and we ate them. We ate our dinner in the back of the station wagon. We were traveling across country. And we had both a cat and a dog in the car with us to make this move from Southern California to Tampa, Sarasota, St. Pete's. That was the story. We're moving to Tampa, Sarasota, St. Pete's. He said he had a job offer and he left a really good job at UCLA. But the attempt that he made on our lives with carbon monoxide, I had always been perplexed. Like, what was this? Like feeding us a Last Supper? Like, was that just like out of mercy? Like, because when you think about it practically, like, why would he waste the money? I mean, even though it's fast food, it's not cheap. So I always tripped over that. And then just the whole symbolism of those golden arches, and spending much of my lifetime not realizing that those golden arches are a trigger for me. Thank you for the hearts, my dears. No, I haven't seen it. I'm good down at my sister's. It's all good, Jazz. Do you love? I always felt my cousin-in-law had that. Oh, it is creepy. I highly recommend this Sharp Objects, not just because of that topic, but because it's so well done and it's such an amazing murder mystery. So well plotted and thought out and just riveting. Hey, Hellaby. Good evening, everyone from Scotland. Loving the lights around you, so calm looking. Well, that's nice. Nice to meet you. I don't think I've met you before. And if I have, I apologize for not remembering. So I think the reason why he bought us dinner at McDonald's was that he was going to pretend like the dinners were poisoned and that's what took our lives. And then he was going to sue McDonald's for millions of dollars. There's a lot of reasons of how I plugged that logic in, but I'm 57 years old. This happened when I was 11 and a half. And it took me about 10 years to realize that it wasn't an accident. And then it's taken me all of these decades to realize, because I always have wondered, you guys, if he had insurance money out on us. I always figured that he did. I figured that that was part of it. And maybe it was. I don't know if there were insurance policies. But I've always wondered. But I'm thinking he was going for the big, big bucks. The year was 1978. So, there wasn't a lot of forensics. I don't even know with the auto spy, with autopsies, if they could probably determine what the poisoning was, but they would probably have to test for that exact poison, right? I mean, you're not going to run a test that just shows you it's carbon monoxide. I mean, maybe. I'm not a medical doctor. But anyway, neither was he. My guess is that he was going after the big bucks, that was why he bought us those precious dinners. And it was just very healing for me to get to that next level. When you're dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder, you never know what's going to trigger you in a good way or in a bad way. And if you're aware of it, then I'd say most of it is good. So for me, this was a triggering in a good way because it helps me see the light and make sense of something that doesn't make sense, right? Like, why would you do that to your kids? Who would do that to their kids? How on earth could you hurt your own kids, right? So, this ties in with a lot of the cases that I focus on. Like, what first dragged me into the true crime scene on YouTube was the Watts case. And back in the day when Scott Peterson victimized his lovely wife, Lacey Peterson, that really got me. Prior to that, the Susan Smith case really got me. And I knew exactly why that one got to me. That was while I was in graduate school. So I'd already known for a handful of years that it wasn't an accident, but I was still early in my healing from it. So yeah, while I was in graduate school, I studied art therapy, and in one of my assignments that was focused on like a big trauma, I drew the golden arches of McDonald's, and I drew them in a yellow pencil on white paper so you could barely see them. And I really didn't want to talk about it with my classmates. I didn't really like my classmates. I thought they were a bunch of jerks that didn't really care about the work that they were doing. Like, they were spoiled brats. They were all just dragging out their college degrees so that they could keep mooching off of their parents. In my opinion, I was like a little bit older than most of them, a little bit, just a couple of years. And I was paying for my own education, and I was already married, and I was very excited to be studying what I felt like I was born to do. So there was a lot of tension in that dynamic, that people thought I was like trying to one up them, or that I was like always trying to be like the best student, the brown noser or something. And that wasn't it at all. I just was trying to get my money's worth, and they didn't care that they were wasting their parents' money. And I was honest in the class with what my issues were, and I had spoken about the issue in general, but I didn't like go into what the golden arches was. And it was when I did that art piece that I realized that seeing those golden arches every single time on some level is triggering for me. And you can't go a day in the United States of America if you're driving around without driving by at least one set of golden arches, if not a few. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back on track and let's stay caught up with you. And you're so sweet, Sherry. Love you, Jazz. So sorry about what your dad did to you and your sis. I'm just so freaking glad we survived. And maybe that's why I get so excited about the sharp objects. Again, spoiler alert, but it starts out with the main character coming back to her hometown where her kid sister passed away right around that same age. It doesn't necessarily say how old they were, but it seems like they're about 11 or 12. It seems like she's about 12 and her sister might be about 11, or maybe her sister is about 12 and she's 13, somewhere in there. Anyway, her sister passed away when they were tweens, and then she's just messed up. She's never dealt with it. And then and I won't give away any of the other storyline, but I have spent many years of my life shaken, thinking what would have happened if my sister didn't survive, because she almost didn't. She was poisoned a lot worse than I was. I'm the younger one, but she had a lethal level of carbon monoxide in her blood. It's a miracle that she survived. I didn't have nearly as much as her, thanks to my dog. I've got my other dog right here who looks a lot like that dog. This dog's name is Coco, and that dog's name was Poco. So Poco saved our lives. Poco was getting sick too, and I was afraid he was going to throw up on my lap. And so I opened the door and I fell out of the car and passed out, and the rest is history. One sec. In some senses, I'm sorry that my father was so damaged that he tried to do that. And in another sense, I'm just totally at peace with it, because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I know that he was very damaged in his own childhood. So I've also always realized, not always, but for decades, I've realized that he was trying to rope my mother back into his life, and really connecting with how Munchausen's van proxy works. The parent tries to be the hero, helping the sick children, and then they control the narrative, they control the people, and they get a lot of sympathy. So that's where I really think he was actually literally Munchausen's van proxy, that he was going to use this poisoning of his kids as a tool to try to manipulate his ex-wife back into his life. And yeah, she was terrified of him, absolutely terrified. Christine Herman, hello. And yeah, that's why I had issues with my mom too. It's like, so you left this man that you were terrified of, but you left your two precious kids with him. And she just didn't think he'd ever do anything harmful to us, because he put on a good show of being kind and nurturing and all that crap, right? Um, let's see. Going to Scotland is my number one thing on my bucket list. Oh, wouldn't that be cool? Scotland and Ireland and Germany, Greece, Italy, Spain, Barcelona. There's a lot of European countries I would love to visit. And would you call Scotland a European country? I would. I had never really thought about that. But anyway, random. Let's try to stay focused. Christine, you will love it. I'm far north as you can go without getting your feet wet. And it's so green over there in Scotland. Like, that's what I always hear everybody talking about, is just how green everything is. I want to go to Finland. I really want to go to Finland and Hollandaise. I would love to go to Hollandaise. Holland. I love Hollandaise jokes. Like, what do they speak in Holland anyway? Hollandaise? That's an old Kids in the Hall. I can't even imagine, Jazz. Yeah, it is really creepy when you first figure out that it wasn't an accident, and then you reflect back on things that were happening leading up to that point in time, things that happened after that point in time. It is super creepy. It was very hard to reconcile having such positive feelings towards my father on one level, a lot of positive feelings towards my father, and then having that, like the worst thing imaginable, and reconciling those two polar opposites, I'd say, was some of the most challenging. Some of the other challenging was just people not understanding and people poo-pooing it and saying, no, that couldn't be. You must just be crazy, right? I'm sure your dad didn't try to kill you. And that is another thing that's so good in this mini series, is the effing gaslighting, you guys. We are being gaslit like you wouldn't believe right now in our country, with our social media, with all of our media, with politics. It's all on fire, gaslighting. So I want to talk about all of it, even though we only have another 10 minutes. So I'll try to come back on live later tonight. Let me see if I got that magic text that gets me off the hook. So no magic text. Sorry. Let's get caught up with you guys. I'll kind of outline some of the things I want to talk about, and then we'll try to reconvene later tonight or tomorrow. I do my yoga videos at night, so I want to still do my yoga video, but I really want to meet up with you guys again. I don't like having to miss, and I don't want to keep people hanging that are interested with getting started with this stuff. So I apologize. But it's lovely to see you, and thank you for being here. And please hit that like button. Oh, and everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. And let's get, the dogs are always, what is God spelled backwards, Sherry? What is God spelled backwards? So I'm just going to speed read a little bit. What you've gone through in your life makes you who you are today. Exactly, Christine. And I like who I am. And anybody who doesn't like who I am, I'm okay with that. I'm totally comfortable with whatever, A lot of people like me. A lot of people don't like me. To each their own. So I appreciate people that like me and people who don't like me. It's just like, you do you, I'll do me, and it's all fine and dandy. You can't try to make people like you. Like, if that's your motivation, that's not a life I want to live. Anyway, so some of these cases that I'm really excited to catch up with you guys. Richard Allen in the Delphi case, just in my last live, somebody came in and called me a pro-burger, asked me if I was a pro-burger, talking about Idaho 4. And I was like, no. And then they're like, oh, and you probably think Richard Allen is innocent too. And I'm like, I don't even know the case, but from what I've seen, it looks like a pile of crap. So suddenly, the pile of crap has come out in new court documents. The Richard Allen case, all kinds of cray. I watched a Lawyer Lee video that I'll link up in the description where she walks you through the paperwork, the court documents that have just been filed. And for anybody that doesn't know yet, in a nutshell, in his confession, he didn't really know how these two girls' lives were ended. And he also said that he buried them in shallow graves. And I have photos of the crime scene, and they're not buried at all. Not at all. So there was another guy who happened to own the freaking property that they were found on, who happened to be on probation, who happened to be driving around at the same time. And he later confessed in jail, allegedly, to a jail cellmate or two that it was him. And he did know all the details when he spoke with the police and in his jailhouse confessions. He knew all the details that only he might know. And so, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So Richard Allen's lawyers are filing for an appeal, of course. And Lawyer Lee is really well educated, Harvard, and she is good at explaining in lay people's terms how hard it is to get an appeal because they make it that way. You are all welcome to visit Scotland. How cool is that? I'm too scared to go out of the USA. I'm too scared to stay in the USA, Sherry, both. Absolutely both. I mean, I love this country, and I've never taken my safety for granted since, you know, in a family like that, you can't ever take your safety for granted. Hey, Nico. Thanks for coming in. Sherry, I felt same way. I had to go to Germany, but it passed quickly. Yeah, so it's crazy what's going on right now nationally. And so just yesterday, there was the bishop at the Episcopalian Church that basically did a prayer and a pleading with Trump directed at him, talking to him. You guys have probably all seen it or heard about it, and I'll link it up in the description. And she just asked him to have mercy on marginalized populations like trans and gay and undocumented folks. And he sat there trying to look like he was taking up like a big kid with his big girl panties on. One of his daughters was atrocious. She kept looking around, like trying to look at everybody's face. It was Tiffany. She looked so rude, the way she was like. And then Vance sitting next to his wife, who's practically black. I mean, come on, Vance. He says his kids aren't mixed race. It's like, what in the F are you talking about? and even Donnie is married to somebody who was, you know, God forbid, not American. I mean, it's just so freaking hypocritical. Anyway, he acted like he was being polite in his facial expressions and his body language. And then today he's basically sicking his MAGA folks on this female bishop. So way to go, Donnie. Way to show the world who you are, as if there was any mistaking that. I am so sick of anybody, like, trigger warning for anybody who's a Trumper. You might want to get the F out of here right now. Not because I don't like you, but because I don't understand. And I am so mad with that freaking salute. And I apologize for even doing it. The freaking Musk thing. The defense around the salute was that it wasn't a Nazi salute. It was a Roman salute. And guess what? The Nazis got their salutes from the Romans. So if you're calling it a Roman salute, you're calling it a Nazi salute. Freaks. And we already knew that about these folks, but it was just horrific that he did that. And he didn't just do it once. He turned around and did it to the people behind him too. And if you saw it, he takes his right hand. I don't want to make the full gesture because it's so rude. He, kind of does the Pledge of Allegiance thing. And then when he throws his hand out and up and it ends up, just like a Hitler kind of thing, the noise that he made at the same time was like, like literally, like, did you guys hear that? Like it was an angry Roman salute. It was angry. And it was in the context of him thanking people for him winning. There was a good slip of the tongue for Donnie winning. But these jokers, they're all going to take each other down. I have no doubt. They all belong in prison as far as I'm concerned. I'm not effing around with none of it anymore. It's way too dangerous. I'm just going to speak my mind, speak my heart. And I think it's important that we all do that. I think that the American public needs to push back and let these freaks know our honest feelings. So, if you feel compatible with that, then that's fine. You do you, boo. Just don't hang out in my chat if you, I don't feel like messing with it. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? Let's see what else. I felt the same way. Went to Germany. What's good for the goose is not always good for the gander. She could have prayed it using different wording. You always pray your president have moral judgment. She could have done a lot of different things, Christine. I think she was very direct. I've heard her speaking about it since. And, she prayed about the prayer and she was answering her higher power that told her the right thing to do in those moments. And I could tell while she's talking that she's extremely nervous. She knows that this is going to bring the big guns after her. She'll probably get Karen Silkwooded. It's disgusting. Oh, and back to the Richard Allen case, that guy, what was his name? I think I wrote it down, but whatever it was, the guy with the jailhouse confession, he just happens to be unalive. Isn't that convenient? Convenient. The Donnie does not appear to have a moral compass at all. Thank you, MC3PO. That's an understatement. I'd say he has the opposite. He's got like a MF compass. In my humble opinion. I'm so sick of the orange pom-pom. So I didn't understand what European tabloids were saying when they said the orange man baby zombie. Like, I understood the orange, I understood the man baby, and then the zombie, it took me a day or so, and I was like, oh, because he was like the dead president coming back to life who's eating our brains, right? Completely eating our brains. So it is 4:45. I do need to wrap up, but I will run down the rest of what I've got on my notes. That case in Kentucky, Mickey Steins, I started with that he hadn't been living at home for multiple days, maybe multiple weeks even. And that there's another judge involved in that whole thing. Of course, there's a lot of people involved in that whole thing. And I will link up some of the channels that I've been watching. And so I didn't say this yet. One of the two women who filed the lawsuit against Letcher County, that Mickey Steins was the supervisor for the deputy who pled guilty and was sentenced for the sexploitations. One of those two women that filed that lawsuit is deceased now. So the other one is the only one who's suing Mickey Steins. But isn't that convenient? So she overdosed. So I've said this, but not for a long time. This is kind of my mantra. It's the natural, accidental, self-inflicted passings away that we have to question, every single one of them. And I don't think we can question them too many times. He's a parasite. So funny. So yeah, all suicides, all overdoses must be natural, accidental, self-inflicted, or as I like to say, Karen Silkwooded, right? Um, oh, those Alexander brothers, we need to get on that. So, did you guys know that the angry orange man baby zombie was the original source of trying to obliterate TikTok from our country? Wasn't he? Wasn't he? That comedian that we love so much, Billy Darling, Josh Johnson, just did a premiere yesterday about the whole TikTok thing. And he reminded me of that. And I'd forgotten. And then he gets to pretend that he's the hero for bringing it back. Like, I think that whole thing on Sunday was just a freaking stunt, an absolute stunt. So I am going to have to say goodbye to my dear friends. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming out to the streets of YouTube with me. And yes, we will try to get back on to a live, let's say somewhere between 8 and 10. Somewhere between 8 and 10, we'll come back onto a live. Does that sound good? Love and light, a total shit show. Not this live, hopefully, but yeah, I know what you're talking about, Christine. Oh, and yeah, we just have to not let the gaslighting happen, because the rapid firing, the things blowing up, I want to say DeLoreans, but no, the Tesla Cybertruck in front of the Trump Hotel in Vegas, the attack in New Orleans, the Los Angeles fires, you guys, all this stuff is a possibility that it's coordinated efforts to keep the crazy coming at you a million miles an hour, so that you can't do that little thing I keep talking about, the election hygiene. And it seems that Trump has outed himself and his buddy, Mr. Musk. What did he say? That Elon knows the computers really well. The computers that count the votes. I'll put a link to a 4-minute Brian Taylor Cohen. No. It's Fair and Balanced. Farron is spelled Ferron. That's a man's first name. So Fair and Balanced did a 4-minute video where he talks about that, and he gives the angry orange man baby zombie the benefit of the doubt and says, well, maybe he's just talking crazy and he doesn't know what he's saying. But no, I think he knows exactly what he's saying. I think he let the cat out of the bag. So hello, Anna Bees, and I gotta say goodbye. I will be there. It's 21:45 here. Catch you guys tomorrow. Oh, thank you so much for coming in from over across the pond. Helby, is that how you say it? So yeah, love and light. Hopefully we'll see you guys later on, sometime between 8 and 10 for a second live. I miss you. I love you. Take good care of yourselves, and see you then.